I watched the flames eat the last truth I had. I stood there barefoot in the grass, the cold from the soil seeping into my skin like it wanted to keep me still. The sky was slipping into dusk, that in-between light where everything looks soft and dangerous. That's when I saw her, my sister, standing in front of the fire pit behind our house, feeding it, page by page. I didn't need to get closer to know. I already knew what it was. The way her hands trembled. The way her jaw was locked tight, like she was trying not to cry or scream. Or both. That ugly green spiral notebook, the one with the little frayed corner I always tried to tape, was unraveling in her hands. My diary. My truth. The fire cracked and hissed as it devoured the pages, the flames curling around every word I had written in secret, every memory I didn't have the strength to say out loud. The ink twisted and blackened before disappearing into smoke. She didn't see me at first. But when she did, she didn't look away. She looked right at me, and for a second I swear I saw guilt. Then it was gone. "You shouldn't have written it down," she said. Her voice was flat, final. I opened my mouth, but nothing came out. My whole body felt hollow, like if I spoke too loud I'd shatter. I took a step forward. "Why?" I whispered. She turned back to the fire. Another page. Another scream I didn't get to release. "You don't understand what you're doing," she said. "You don't know what will happen if people read that." I did. That's why I wrote it. This wasn't about a fight. This wasn't about teenage drama or sister rivalry or some stupid secret passed between bedrooms at night. This was about Dad. And what he did. What he still does. "You read it," I said, my voice sharper now. "You read all of it." She didn't deny it. My legs moved without permission. I reached for the edge of the pit, grabbing one half-burned page as it fluttered up. The corner of a sentence still showed. "He waited until Mom left," he said, and then it was ash in my fingers. I crushed it without meaning to. My hands shook. My chest hurt, tight like something was pressing down from the inside. My eyes burned, but I wouldn't cry. Not yet. "You were supposed to help me," I said, quieter now. "You were supposed to protect me." "I am protecting you," she snapped. "From ruining everything. From making this worse." "For who?" I asked. "For him." Her silence was the loudest thing I'd ever heard. A final page curled, caught flame, and vanished. Just like that, months of memories gone. My voice incinerated. My proof erased. She walked past me without another word. Brushed my shoulder like I was a stranger. I stood there alone as the fire ate everything. The wind carried the smoke over our backyard fence like it was trying to hide the evidence. But I saw. I remembered. And I wasn't going to forget. Not this time. People always said we were the perfect family. My dad was the kind of man everyone liked instantly. The one who could charm a room in under 5 minutes, make people laugh without trying, and somehow convince them he was the most trustworthy man they'd ever met. He coached soccer, brought donuts to my teachers, walked my mom to the car like they were still dating. On the outside, he was the father every girl wished for. And for a while I believed that too. My sister Leah was his shadow. The older one. The golden one. The straight-A student with the perfect hair, the clean sneakers, the impossible ability to make friends wherever she went. She never broke rules. She didn't have to. She was the rule. I was younger by 3 years. Quieter. Shy in a way people mistook for rude. I didn't shine the way Leah did, but I was okay with that. We were close once. Before everything shifted. When we were kids, we used to share a bunk bed. She'd lean over the edge at night and whisper made-up stories until I fell asleep. On stormy nights, we'd huddle under the covers and pretend we were lost in the woods. Just the two of us against the world. We told each other everything. Until I was 13. That's when the air in our house changed. It was small things at first. The way Dad started calling me into his office to chat more often. The way his hugs got a little longer. His comments a little weird. I didn't know what to call it then. I just remember how uncomfortable it made me feel. How suddenly I was hyper-aware of how close he stood. How loud his voice was behind closed doors. Leah started pulling away that same year. She stopped coming into my room at night. Stopped answering my texts when I needed her. Her eyes didn't meet mine at the dinner table anymore. Like I'd become invisible, or worse. Like she was scared of what she might see if she looked at me too long. Maybe she knew. Maybe she didn't want to know. The day I asked her if she noticed how different Dad was acting, she laughed. Not in a cruel way. More like a panicked, nervous giggle that didn't fit her face. "He's always been weird," she said. "You're overthinking everything." I wasn't. I started sleeping with my door locked. I started flinching at his footsteps. But it wasn't just what he did. It was how easily he convinced me it was normal. That I was too sensitive. That I was lucky to have a dad who cared so much. Sometimes I believed him. Other times I stared at the ceiling and tried to disappear. I wrote a lot back then. Scribbled thoughts into notebooks and scraps of paper. Writing was the only place I could admit the fear, the confusion, the shame that clung to me like a second skin. I didn't have words for what was happening. Not legal ones anyway, but my body understood it. My stomach twisted every time I heard his voice through the walls. My chest locked up whenever he said my name. Leah got quieter too. Or maybe just more distant. She spent more time at school or out with friends I never met. And when she was home, she moved like she was walking across glass. Careful, calculated, fake. I wondered if he had ever made her feel the way he made me feel. But I never asked. And she never offered. The worst part wasn't what he did. It was that when I finally found the courage to name it, even just for myself, the person I trusted most decided it was better to pretend it didn't happen. That's when I started writing it all down. Every look, every comment, every time my skin crawled. My diary became my mirror, my map, my lifeline. I thought maybe one day when I was older I'd show it to Leah. And she'd see. She'd understand. She'd say, "I believe you." But instead she burned it. The first time I wrote in the diary, I didn't even realize I was starting one. It was a torn sheet from a school notebook, stuffed into the back of my desk drawer. I didn't write, "Dear Diary." I didn't sign my name. I just wrote. He waited until Mom left. The words looked strange in my own handwriting, like they belonged to someone else. But it felt necessary. If I didn't put it somewhere, it would keep gnawing at me from the inside. And I was already starting to feel hollow enough. So I kept writing. First it was just facts. What he said. Where his hand landed on my shoulder. How long the hug lasted. I tried to keep it neutral, clinical. Like if I made it sound like a report, it wouldn't feel like a confession. But over time the fear crept in. The shame. The questions that had no answers. I started writing the things I couldn't say to anyone else. I hate how he smells like mint gum and cologne now. I used to love that smell. I think Leah knows. I wish she'd ask me about it. Sometimes I wish I was invisible. Sometimes I wish I wasn't here at all. That was the page I ripped out, crumpled, and flushed down the toilet. I got a proper diary a few months later. A cheap green one with a cardboard cover and a flimsy silver lock that probably wouldn't stop anyone with real intent. But it made me feel safer. Like I'd built a tiny vault for myself inside this house. I hid it behind my bookshelf, beneath a fake cardboard box that looked like an old puzzle set. I checked on it every night before bed, even if I didn't write. Just touching it reminded me I wasn't crazy. That this was real. That I wasn't making it up. I don't know how long I would have kept the secret if it had stayed just mine. But secrets don't stay quiet forever. One night, it was a Tuesday I think, I forgot to lock my bedroom door. I remember because I'd fallen asleep at my desk, cheek pressed against a page halfway through a sentence. My pen still in my hand. The next morning the diary was gone. First I thought I misplaced it. I tore through the room, heart racing, hands trembling. I tore the puzzle box apart, checked behind drawers under the mattress. But I already knew. Leah. She was waiting in the hallway, holding it. Her eyes were red, her mouth tight. "Is this some kind of joke?" she asked, lifting the diary like it was evidence of a crime I committed. My throat dried up. Leah. She opened it. Read aloud. He called me beautiful again today. He said it like a secret. Like a threat. I tried to take a step toward her. You weren't supposed to read that. I wasn't supposed to. She cut herself off with a sharp, bitter laugh. Are you serious right now? It's not a story, I whispered. It's the truth. Her eyes searched mine, looking for something. Crack. Punchline. Way out. And then she screamed. Why are you lying about him? Her voice echoed down the hallway. I flinched like she'd slapped me. I'm not lying, I said, but the words felt small, soft, helpless. You know I'm not. She shook her head. You're confused. He's not like that. He would never. He did. Silence. My breath came in quick, sharp bursts. I wasn't sure if I was shaking from fear or fury. Maybe both. She looked away, jaw clenched so hard I thought it might crack. You don't understand what this could do to Mom. To this family. To him. What about what it's doing to me? Yes. What about what it's already done? She didn't answer. She just held the diary like it was poison in her hands, then stormed down the hall, the pages flapping open, my words exposed. My pain flung into the hallway like trash. I followed her halfway down the stairs, but she didn't look back. I thought for a moment she'd cool off, that she'd cry and come back to me like she used to, crawl into my bed and whisper, I believe you. That maybe after reading it she'd finally see. But she never came. Not that night. Not the next morning. That was the last time I saw the diary hole. That day I realized something worse than being alone. It was being surrounded by people and still not being believed. My sister wasn't angry because she thought I lied. She was angry because I'd told the truth. And now she couldn't unsee it. So she decided to destroy it instead. I smelled the smoke before I saw it. It was faint at first, drifting through my window like a whisper, like something was wrong but didn't want to be noticed. It didn't belong to dinner or a neighbor's barbecue. It was acrid. Dark. Paper, not food. Something burning that wasn't supposed to burn. I shot up from my bed, heart already racing. The backyard. I flew down the stairs barefoot, skin smacking against tile. My breath caught in my throat when I saw the glow through the glass door. She was there. Leah. Kneeling in front of the fire pit like she was offering a sacrifice. Feeding it slowly and deliberately. Not with kindling or trash. But with pages. My pages. No, I gasped, slamming the door open so hard it bounced back off the wall. She didn't turn. She didn't flinch. She just kept feeding the fire. No. What are you doing? I screamed, rushing toward her, almost tripping over the lawn chair. Stop. Please stop. She turned her head then. Her eyes were wet, not with grief but with something harder. Determination. Fury. You left me no choice, she said. Her voice was calm. Come. You're trying to destroy this family. I won't let you. My knees gave out. I dropped beside her, reached into the flames without thinking, trying to snatch something, anything from the fire. My fingers burned as I touched a half-charred page. Don't, she warned. You'll hurt yourself. I am hurt, I screamed. You think burning this makes it go away? I grabbed another corner of a page, the edge of a sentence still visible. He waited until, and then it blackened and crumbled between my fingers. Like the rest of it. Like me. Leah stood over me, arms crossed tightly over her chest. You don't know what you're doing, she said. You think this is some kind of diary therapy thing, but it's not. Dangerous. It could ruin everything. Everything's already ruined, I sobbed. You're just pretending it's not. I stared into the fire and all I saw were ghosts. His smile. The way his hand lingered on my back. The quiet click of my door at night. The moments I tried to scream inside but didn't know how. I was too small then. Too scared. And now it was too late. The fire roared louder as if it were mocking me. Page after page turned to ash. My voice turned to silence. You don't understand, I whispered. That was all I had. You had me, she snapped. No, I said, standing slowly. I lost you. The moment you chose him over me. She froze. The silence cracked between us like thunder. For a moment, her mouth trembled, like something inside her wanted to speak but couldn't find the words. But instead she turned away. Back to the flames. I knelt again, trying to pick through the ashes. My fingers came away blackened, stinging. I found part of a sentence. Part of me. I don't feel safe. That was it. That was all I had left. I curled around it, holding it like a dying ember. It didn't matter that it was unreadable now. I knew what it had said. I remembered. But no one else would. There were no photos. No videos. No fingerprints. Just me. And now they'd say it was all in my head. That I was unstable. That I wanted attention. And maybe Leah would believe that if she said it enough times. Maybe she already did. She stood there for a long time, arms still wrapped around herself. And I stood in the shadows, clutching the ash of my truth. She didn't say another word. Neither did I. But I knew what she'd done. She hadn't just burned my diary. She'd burned my proof, my courage, my voice. And as the fire died down and the sky slipped into night, I knew something else too. This wasn't just betrayal. This was erasure. And it hurt worse than anything he ever did. They always say fire is cleansing, that it purifies. But this fire wasn't for healing. This fire was for hiding. And now all I had left were ashes. I stopped talking 3 days after the fire. Not on purpose. Just happened. Like a switch flipped inside me. Like my voice finally understood no one wanted to hear it. I stopped eating too. Nothing tasted right. Nothing felt right. My body moved like it belonged to someone else. A quieter girl, an invisible one. Mom noticed first. Are you okay, sweetheart? She asked softly one morning, pouring cereal into a bowl I wouldn't touch. Her voice was warm, but her eyes never really met mine. He nodded. Dad stepped into the room a second later. All smiles and false concern. She's been acting strange lately, he said casually, placing a hand on my shoulder. Probably hormones. Teen stuff. I froze under his touch. Mom just sighed, gave a weak smile, and went back to stirring coffee like none of it mattered. Like I didn't matter. Leah walked past me a few hours later, humming to herself, her phone in her hand. Her face was fresh and smooth, like nothing had happened, like she hadn't fed my pain to a fire and called it protection. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. They had all agreed, in some unspoken, twisted way, that the problem wasn't him. It was me. At school I kept my head down. I stopped raising my hand. I didn't laugh with the girls at lunch or talk about TV shows in the hallway. I felt like a shadow slipping between walls, barely touching the ground. But the silence was too heavy to carry alone. So one day I cracked. I stayed after class and asked to speak to Ms. Carter, our school counselor. She always wore soft sweaters and used the word safe a lot. It made something in me want to believe her. I told her quietly what I remembered, what I felt. I didn't say everything, just enough. She frowned, took notes, asked if I had proof. I told her it was burned. She asked if my sister had seen anything. I looked down. She says I'm lying. Her lips thinned into a line. She nodded slowly. We'll keep an eye on things, okay? You're very brave for coming in. But nothing changed. No one called home. No one pulled Dad into an office and asked the hard questions. Ms. Carter smiled at me in the hallway, but that was it. I realized then that bravery isn't always enough. Not when truth is outnumbered. That night, I sat by the window for hours, a backpack beside me. Half-pack. I thought about leaving. Just walking until my legs gave out. Maybe someone would notice. Maybe someone would ask why. But deep down I knew they wouldn't. They'd say I was unstable. Or dramatic. Or broken. And maybe I was. But I wasn't lying. I spoke the truth. And the silence that followed was louder than any scream I could ever make. I found it 2 weeks later. Wedged between the bricks of the fire pit. Curled and half-burned. blackened along the edges like a secret it didn't want to share. It was part of a page from my diary, one she'd missed, one the fire hadn't completely swallowed. The ink was smudged, but still legible in places. Date. I'm. A sentence that made my blood freeze and boil all at once. He touched my back and said I was growing up too fast. I didn't want to be near him after that. I stared at it, hands shaking. This wasn't proof to a jury, but it was proof to me. And that was enough to start again. I pressed it flat inside a book, scanned it, photographed it from 5 different angles. Then I created a new folder on a flash drive I wore around my neck, one I encrypted and backed up in 3 places. I was done begging people to believe me. I sent the photo anonymously to a trauma therapist I found online. Then again to a child protection hotline. No name, no location, just the truth. I didn't know what would come of it. Maybe nothing. But I'd started a trail. And this time I wouldn't let them burn it. I began writing again. Not in a notebook, not in anything anyone could tear or light a match to. I used encrypted notes, fake email accounts, cloud folders hidden inside innocuous names like math homework or recipe ideas. I recorded voice memos in the middle of the night. If I disappeared, the truth wouldn't. My silence wasn't surrender anymore. It was strategy. Dad still smiled too wide at breakfast. Mom still looked at me like I was a puzzle she couldn't figure out. Leah still laughed at the dinner table, like the sound could drown out everything she didn't want to feel. I didn't speak much, but when I did, it was slow, frozen, and I stopped trying to save my sister. She made her choice to protect him, not me. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was guilt. Or maybe deep down she needed the lie more than I needed the truth. But I wasn't her anymore. I didn't need pretending. I needed truth. Even if it hurt. Even if it never brought justice. Even if I was the only one who carried it. Because ashes don't lie. And I still had one piece that survived. Narrator's inner monologue, final lines. They thought burning it would silence me. But even fire makes evidence. And I'm not done. Not yet. Some nights, I wonder what it would feel like to forget. To go back to the way things were before I knew what hands could take without permission. Before I understood that love could come with conditions. Before I realized that sometimes, silence is the most violent sound in a home. But I can't forget. 'Cause I still remember. I remember the smell of his cologne when he tucked me in, pretending it was affection. I remember the way Leah used to hold my hand under the blankets when the world felt too big, before she learned how to pretend too. I remember the crackle of burning paper, the sound of my voice screaming her name, and the way she never looked sorry, only determined. They walk through the house like it's still whole. Dad whistles in the hallway sometimes. He hums while flipping pancakes on Sunday mornings, like the man who destroyed me doesn't know he did. Like he's proud of the version of himself he built in their eyes. And Leah, she laughs with him now. She shares jokes and inside stories like I was never part of them. Like she didn't once braid my hair and call me her best friend. I watch them from across the table and they look so normal. It makes me sick sometimes. How easily people wear masks. How loudly they laugh to cover the screams they don't want to hear. But I know what's real. 'Cause I still remember. And in remembering I survive. I saved what I could. The scorched scrap. The encrypted files. My voice, even if it's quiet now, holds the rhythm of truth. Carry it with me like armor. Not for revenge. But for me. Because there is power in knowing what they fear most is not what I said. It's that I won't stop remembering. There are nights I still dream about fire. But in the dream the flames don't take everything. They burn away the lies. They leave behind something clean. Something raw but honest. One day I'll speak louder. I'll show them what survived. The truth will rise in someone else's voice, maybe. A teacher, a therapist, another girl who finds her own words in my story. Maybe Leah will break one day too. And when she does, maybe she'll remember what she helped destroy. But whether they do or not, I'll still be here. Standing. Breathing. Knowing. Because even if no one else remembers, you do. My sister burned my diary because I wrote what Dad did. But I still remember. And someday so will everyone else.